Okay, I'm going to be taking care of some of my plants that are in just water. Over here we have a bit of a mixed group. Here's some basil that came off of some Vietnamese food that I ate. It doesn't have roots, but it is flowering. Usually when you are taking clippings, you would want to remove any of these flowers because it takes away energy that could be going towards roots instead. Got some leafless pothos stems. Oh, here's a piece of my moonlight scindapsus that fell off when I was moving my plant. So I just popped it in there to see if it would do anything. Definitely a lot of algae growth. I do not change my water. I don't really feel like it affects the plants so much as it's just a little gross. Here's a Hoya leaf that fell off when I was moving a Hoya. No roots yet. I just recently stuck that in there. It smells very strongly of basil since I've been touching these. Okay, we've got a pretty sad avocado. Oh, it's got 3 roots going. Okay, and lots of algae. Over here we've got another little mixed cup. Here's a fuzzy wandering Jew that was a little clipping that I pinched off of the main plant at a store. Here's a little creeping Charlie clipping. Same thing. Took a little pinch off of a plant at a store. This one was longer. It was about twice as long, and I just cut it again to see if I could get 2 going. Some more Hoya leaves. We'll see what they do. Hoya's kind of a succulent, so I feel like it should be able to grow from 1 leaf without a node. We'll find out. Here's some very sad ivy. She is deceased. This was clippings from my neighbor's backyard ivy, and I had it growing for a good year. It seems like maybe the roots might have suffocated out because they're just growing through this little tiny hole. But it had water, so I'm not sure what really happened. The soil's dry, but the roots had water. Anyway, she's probably done for. Ooh, here's a couple of pothos varieties. This one is a lemon meringue that I pinched off of a plant at a big box store. And then this is supposed to be maybe glacier or mandula, but it reverted, so I just pinched off the reverted leaves, and now they look pretty weird. They're definitely an interesting shape, kind of crinkly, very firm stems. Look at those beautiful roots, so good. Here's a sadder avocado. I ran out of chopsticks, so I tried using thumbtacks. We'll see if it does anything. It's opening, so it might do something. It's a lot younger than this one, so we'll see what it does. I have toothpicks on my shopping list. Okay, so here's some aerial roots. Here's a bunch of stems that fell off of my big main plant. Half of that was my dog running into it because it was on the floor, and half of that was me bumping into it with my watering can when it was up off the floor. Anyway, this plant is quite old, so I felt really terrible when it fell apart. This plant was given to me by someone who moved, and it was given to them by someone, so it's had its history. You can tell by the thickness of the stems. It's quite thick. This one is actually in perlite, which is, no nutritional value or microbiome or anything. It's just really to hold the roots down. But if you're wondering if perlite alone is a good substrate to recover dying succulents, the answer is yes. This aloe was on its deathbed. It was tiny. It was shrimpy, drying up, and almost dead. What is this? A Haworthia? It was the same. I stuck him in a cup full of perlite, just like that other succulent, and they came back to life, literally. So, big believer of perlite, and then I do fill it up with water. So the perlite is really just something for the roots to grab onto, but plants really like that when they are growing new roots. Really, I could have put perlite in any of these. I still could, but for most of them, I'm not too worried about it. Here's some stems from my dad's crazy 30-year-old pothos. The thing was just so leggy, so this is what was growing off the ends. What still had leaves, that is. They're fine. They're good. Look at that little bud coming up. So those are fine. Okay, now let's talk about this insane amount of wandering Jew. This one's a succulent. Look at how dark and vibrant it is. Oh my gosh, look. Wow. Look at all those flowers. What? This plant, there's two of them, was initially just a couple of small pieces that I had pinched from a big box store, and I put them in soil and nearly died, so I chopped off the top, propped it in some water, kept doing that. This is what I get. There's still wood growing in soil, but it's not doing amazing. It's okay, but nothing like this. This is insane. And I do let the one in soil get fairly dry, so maybe it's just one of those plants that doesn't want to be dry ever. It doesn't mind the algae though. Really, at any point, any of these could go in soil. They're all pretty rooted, except for the basil sprigs. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and rinse out all of these cups, and then I'll scrub out the algae and fill them back up. No! My skin dab says I'll just plant the stem and see if it does anything without its leaf. My experiment worked. This one's got great root growth and it's got a couple of leaves popping out. I am using reverse osmosis water for these guys, and I am using fertilizer. I use the liquid fertilizer that you dilute into the jug of water, and then I use that for top-ups and refills during my regular watering, but since I'm doing all this right now, I'm just gonna do straight from the filter tap. This one, I'm not worried about repotting it right now. Eventually it will go back in soil. I don't want to change out the perlite just to get rid of the algae because it's doing just fine. So I'm just gonna put some fresh water in it. It's kind of like a bowl of cereal. You can see the water level is all the way up here. You may wonder how succulents do in such a wet environment, and interestingly, they are fine. Root rot is caused by bacteria in the soil, so there's no soil here. There's nothing alive in this substrate except for algae, clearly. So there's nothing to rot the plant itself. They're pretty loose in there. They're not. This one I just stuck in not too long ago. The moisture doesn't really seem to bother them that much. You can see like some of these leaves are a bit stressed, but it's probably more about the transition from, you know, them falling off and then me putting them in here. But you can see there's tons of new growth at the top from about here. And that has all grown since it's been in the water. Now I tackle these sad avocados. I don't usually keep toothpicks. So what I end up doing is chopping up a chopstick and then sharpening it with a knife so I can stab it in there. You can see, I don't know if you can see, there's like a green in the center that's probably not algae. I think that's just the start of like the bud, the early stem. That's so cool. Look at how weird these roots are. They usually don't look quite like that. Usually they look like one long thing coming down, but since it was in such shallow water, that's probably what happened. I don't think the algae really bothers the plant when it's just on the seed like this. I'm just really washing it off to help it go a little longer before it gets totally covered again. Actually, at this point, this plant would probably prefer to go straight into soil. Avocados usually are a lot stronger when they're grown in soil as opposed to water. They will sprout more slowly, but they'll be more robust. At some point soon, I will put this one in soil before it starts sprouting its stem out of the top. The saran wrap just helps the water not evaporate out so quickly. Some plants do not like touching metal. Old man's beard, for example, also known as Spanish moss, hates metal. If it touches metal, it'll die. So the avocado with metal sticking straight out of it might not be the best idea. The way that I had this working is the little like outer bump and the inner bump of the thumbtack. Hold it on the rim of the glass. And that actually works really well as long as I don't let it get dry, because then I want to move it down here like this instead of just adding more water. The chopsticks hold it a lot lower in the glass than the thumbtacks, so the water level can decrease a little bit more. When you get married, you could hold a bouquet of wandering Jew instead of flowers. This stuff is great if you like to give plants to people as gifts. Reverse osmosis water is great for reducing the crispy tips on your plants. A lot of the times the chlorine can cause issues, the chlorine from tap water, if they're just being watered with tap water constantly. I say as I rinse my roots with tap water. Anyway, that is some information that I learned from watching videos by arborists at the country's largest greenhouse. And they have lots of rare tropical plants. They water them with reverse osmosis water. And the other advice that I learned from this video was fertilize every time you water. Just dilute the fertilizer a little more and fertilize every time. That way the plant has a steady stream of fertilizer. Also probably worth noting is soap does not bother plants too much. At least not a lot of the plants that people keep in their homes. So if there's a little left in my jars, I am not worried about it. These all just fell off when I was manhandling it. We'll just tuck these little guys in there. I feel like this would be a fun plant for a fish tank. I'm not sure if it would be toxic to fish. I know like pothos plants are toxic to eat, but they actually do really quite well in fish tanks. When I had goldfish, the pothos never seemed to bother them. And they didn't really eat it, of course. It's too tough, and goldfish really like soft plants to eat, like Java moss Okay, now for this one, we'll see. I'll just like wet the soil and see if it doesn't come back to life. There's one leaf on here. One tiny little leaf that I think might still be alive. And these roots really were just trying to get straight down into this water catching area. I wonder if I should just let them be, or yeah, we'll see. We'll see what it does. To the sunny window.